It's good to be back. I haven't taught a class in a while. So welcome, everybody, get on in. My name is Kira, and we are going to be making last minute gifts. So last minute gifts using seashells or oyster shells. So I've got Michael sells some great already. They've done all the dirty work and cleaned the shells for you. So we're going to be using oyster shells, and we're going to turn them into ornaments and dishes and salt and pepper bowls. So this is really fun to do. It is a great last minute DIY. It's a great activity to do over the holidays. And it's something that lasts, that doesn't just have to be for the holiday. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how to make these. We're going to be using Podge gloss. We're going to be using Folk Art Treasure Gold, which is the most metallic gold paint out there. It is non-toxic. It's the most gold acrylic paint out there. We're also going to be using our Mod Podge resin for the shells that we're going to actually be using for food. Mod Podge resin is food safe once it is properly cured. So we are going to be putting a coating on our shelves. Like I said, we're going to show you how you can use them for like little salt and pepper bowls at your table, or you can even put little dips in them or lemons and limes. So it's a great little condiment dish. So again, we've got our shells and oysters. Again, Michael's has a great variety of these shells already. You can get them in bags. And also if you've just collected some over the years, you know, from a trip, a lot of great options for this. We're going to be using napkins also. So Michael's again has a lot of great napkins. Pull out old napkins from last year you had at holidays. So whether you want it to be Christmas themed or just everyday napkins. And we love crafting with napkins. They're great with Mod Podge. So we've got some cocktail napkins. Also have some brushes and scissors, and then we've got all our resin supplies. So I will walk you through that when we get to resin, because it's a lot. It's, you know, there's more supplies needed when you do resin than just like a basic craft like this. Again, you don't have to do resin, but if you are going to use these shells with food, use the Mod Podge resin because it is food safe. So you can put your salt and pepper and your condiments right on the Mod Podge resin. Okay. So I've got our shells, and again, if you're using shells that you've collected, just make sure that they are clean and dry. We like to wipe things down with white vinegar is really great, or also rubbing alcohol, just to make sure there's no debris or anything on them. If you're using ones that you purchased at Michael's, you know, you can just use those right out of the container that they come in. I would just make sure that they're like dust free. So I would give them a little bit of a wipe, but you don't need to worry about like other things on them. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how easy this is. So again, this started as this. This is just an oyster shell. Now you can do it with other seashells, right? We did it like this. And these are, it's just an oyster shell, and I'm going to show you how to apply the napkin to this. And also I forgot to mention, if you guys have any questions while we're crafting, Stephen is in the other studio, so he can relay those to me or put them in the chat if you have any questions. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this blue and white, and then we'll do a Christmas one. So again, cocktail napkins are great to craft with. You could use fabric also. I would not recommend using a paper or cardstock for this because I think it would be really hard just because of the thickness of a paper to get in the grooves of the shell. You want something that you can really kind of mold into that, like the dip in the crevices of the shell. So I would say napkins or some great fabrics that Michael's has. Okay, so anytime we use napkins, we want to separate our napkins out because typically napkins are 2 or 3 ply. So you want to just peel off the back. And that means that, can't do it and talk. Okay, so look, this is all napkins have this, the cocktail napkins. So you want to take this blank away, throw it away, you don't need it. You want to make sure that you separate this. Now, again, some napkins are 2 ply, some are 3 ply. You really want to make sure and double check that it's that you've separated it out, because all you really want is the piece of napkin that only has the print on it. So that's what you're going to use to decoupage. And again, this is just a cocktail napkin. Now, some of them are tricky, so you do want to make sure, like this one has 3 plies. It looks like 2. And you know, as a little tip, and I don't have any here, you can take a piece of tape or double stick tape and stick it to the back of the napkin, and it'll help you hold on to that second ply and separate it. So again, you just want that single ply. And these are pretty sturdy, actually. You wouldn't, you think you would rip it pulling that back off, but you don't. So this is a napkin. I'm going to go ahead and separate out this Christmas napkin while we're talking. So before my hands get sticky. Again, this is great. Michael's has such a great variety of napkins, whether it's seasonal or everyday. These are great to use. And again, if you just have some napkins from a party or, you want to make a personalized gift, if it's somebody's wedding or baby shower or a memory or an event, this is a great way to do that. Again, you could also use fabric. Okay, so I'm separating all these napkins out. So again, separate that. And I mean, I'm tugging pretty hard and it's not pulling or ripping. All right. So now I have my napkins ready. I'm going to lay out my shells. And again, you can use a variety of sizes. Again, I'm going to be using oyster, but you could totally use these more traditional size shells. You just want something that you can decoupage into. I love this, especially for the purposes of using it as an actual bowl with the Mod Podge resin. This is a great, it lays flat. It's great for a charcuterie board. Again, great for a gift. So give these as gifts. You could also put like a little container of like jams or jellies with them. You could also drill holes in them and just use them as ornaments. I've seen a lot of that this year where these can just, or you glue on a ribbon or string and use it as an ornament for a tree. Okay, so I'm going to take these shells, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this out so it's easier to work with. And I love the poinsettias on this. So I'm going to use the poinsettias. Now, again, you could use the whole napkin, or you can just use parts and pieces of it. So I'm going to actually kind of lay this in so we get all that poinsettia, because I love that. And I'm just going to keep trimming it down. I'm going to leave excess. So when I place it on the oyster shell, it's not going to fit perfectly. Do you see what I mean? I forget I have an overhead. I'm going to leave some around it that we can trim at the end. It's just easier to work with if you're not trying to cut out a pattern or make it perfect. Okay, then I'm going to take my Mod Podge gloss. So if you do not know what Mod Podge is, it is a glue and sealer and finish all in one. It is like the #1 decoupage formula. It is just an amazing product to have in your craft room. And again, all these products are available at Michael's and Michaels.com. So you can still grab these definitely at your Michael's and make these projects. So I'm going to use gloss.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You got a second. So Leslie, talking about the napkin, she says, how would you put a hole in it without breaking it? And I think people often underestimate how strong that these napkins can be. Like it's, you saw Kira trying to tear it apart. It's durable. Like you're not gonna just like accidentally tear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They may also be talking about the seashell.
Oh yeah, she just said that. Okay, yeah, she just clarified.
That's okay. Yeah.
What would so how would you go about that?
Yeah, you can drill them. So you can use a drill bit and drill through them.
Cool.
You can also purchase them with holes in them. But honestly, if you're worried and you don't want to deal with the drill, all you need to do is take, here, I'll show you. Say this is a piece of ribbon. I just don't have a ribbon back here with me. Say this is a ribbon or baker's twine or string or yarn. You could just hot glue right on the back of your shell and make a hanger. So if you don't want to mess with holes, you can drill, and we have done that here in the studio. You can absolutely just hot glue a hanger right on the back of your shell. Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good tip.
Okay. I'm not great with the drill, so I'm usually like, hey, Sherry, can you put a hole in this with the drill? So if you don't want to go there, just add your loop or your hanger on the back. You could also add a magnet if you wanted to. Okay, so yes, and please, if you guys have questions, stop me, because I'm just going to keep talking. This is a fun one for me. I actually made a set of these for one of my best friends already for Christmas, so it's been really fun. She had a little get together and got to see her use them. They are a great gift. So Mod Podge gloss is a glue and sealer all in one. It comes out of the bottle. It's milky and creamy. So you can see that, but don't worry, it dries crystal clear. Now you could use a number of Mod Podge formulas for this. I like a gloss anytime we're doing something metallic or shiny, like a glitter or this treasure gold, because I want it to have that same feel. I don't want a matte inside and then a really shiny outside. but maybe you do. You could use Mod Podge Sparkle would be really pretty on these, especially for ornaments in the holidays. But I'm just going to use Mod Podge Gloss, and we're just going to take a brush and we are going to apply, and you can see that Mod Podge is creamy and milky when it comes out, but it's going to dry clear. And you want to put a good even coat on your shell. So you want to make sure you get a good even coat inside the shell. And then what we're going to do is we are going to lay this down, and we're just going to use our fingers and we're going to work it into the shell. Now you just have to be patient because this is where your napkin can tear. So Stephen, I know you were saying they are durable, but this is where you just have to take your fingers and you kind of want to pat it, right? So you're like patting it into the shell, and the decoupage is tacky already. So it's going to start to grip, and you can see it's just going to start to form to the shell. So you just lightly want to work your finger, like just your fingertip in there, and work it into all the little crevices, right? Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another coat right on top of this. And again, that's going to be really milky and creamy looking. It's thick, but it is going to dry completely crystal clear, and you're not going to see any of those strokes. So I'm going to get a good even coat. And then I'm going to kind of start working it around the edge. So here's a tip also. If you have a piece of sandpaper, you can use a piece of sandpaper and kind of hit the edge, and it's going to help tear off your shell. I'm just using my fingers because your edge doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to coat it with treasure gold. But a piece of sandpaper or a nail file is really great because you could basically take your nail file, but it's sticking on me. Say this is a nail file. If you just do this, and this even helps doing the edge of the shell, it really pushes it down and it'll break off your napkin right at the edge there. So that's a little tip. If you're nervous about trimming it, just kind of doing it with your finger. If you're not very gentle, and sometimes I'm not and I rip it. And then you just kind of smooth over the edge. But again, a nail file or a fine piece of sandpaper is really easy just to do this, and it's going to break off right on your edge, and then you're going to have a really nice edge. Okay, so that's going to dry. Then what we're going to do is you can paint the back and the edges, and you can see on these, we've done that already, but I just want to show you. So let me hit this. I'm going to actually hit this with a hair dryer very quickly. Maybe my hair dryer is not working. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna go ahead and do one blue one just to show you guys again the technique, and then add the treasure gold, and then I'm gonna show you the resin. Okay, so I'm gonna grab another shell. I'm gonna do the same process. Again, I'm gonna use my Mod Podge, put a good even coat. I'm gonna take my napkin. Stephen, did somebody have a question I saw up on the monitor here? I can read signs, but I can't.
Andrea asked, can you use any other type of thin paper?
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing is that you just want it to be able to watch. When I do this, if it was stiff, you're not going to get it to go into the indents and the crevices in a shell. So you may just want to test a piece of paper depending how thick it is. I just worry about it creasing and not really being able, like pliable to get into the creases. Tissue paper, napkins, and fabric are going to really like let you take your finger, and it's like you're almost smushing it into the shells. Does that make sense? I'm glad
you said that because somebody actually just asked, can you use fabric? So that was a good timing.
Yeah, fabric would be great. Anything that is like, will like really lay in all those like nooks and crannies in a shell. Like you think it's really smooth, but if you run your finger, you can feel like all the tiny little divots. So anything that's stiff and hard isn't gonna work. And then again, you know, I have a popsicle stick here. You could just tear off the ends, but use a piece of sandpaper or nail file. It'll give you a really, really nice edge on your shell. Okay. So for that, got a really, really, really good coat on here. And then I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so this is almost dry. I can show you guys. And then all I'm going to do is take the Treasure Gold. Now, Treasure Gold is, again, I can't say enough about it, especially during the holidays. It is a water base. It's non-toxic. It is the most metallic. Can you see that? Most metallic paint. I mean, you guys, these look gilded, right? So these are oysters. This is metallic gold. You can just see it adds that, it looks like it's finished, right? Like I love that. And we put a little piece of gold, you know, twine on there or something. It's a great, just way to finish off any project. And really all you need to do is dip in your paint. Then I am just going to, let's see here, hold this on the edge and I am just going along the edge of my shell. So I'm not going inside the shell. I'm just kind of letting the edge of the shell guide me. So I'm just like pushing down on the edge. I'm not like painting across. I'm just putting it right on the edge and pulling away from it. Does that make sense? You're just basically like just the tip of the shell, the edge right there, just to give it a gilded look. And you guys look how shiny that is. So you don't want to just brush along. You want to just basically, I don't even know that. You're just putting it down and pulling, putting it down and pulling. On there. And that's what you do. And then you can paint the backs also. So there you go. Again, if you want this to be an ornament, if you want this to be a magnet, if you want it to be, I'm going to show you the resin here in a minute. And then again, here's some other ones we've done. This is a pretty one with fruit. Like I said, like if you're doing like a bottle of wine and one of these would be really pretty, you could theme them. And then look at that Treasure Gold on the back of that shell. Can you guys see that? So again, just a great way to finish this off. So, you know, you could go and do all your fronts, let them dry, and then go back and do all the backs of your shells. And this is just one coat. You don't even really need 2 coats. It's that great, you guys. Look at that coverage. That's on just a raw seashell. And again, Treasure Gold comes in a lot of colors. I just love gold, but it comes in silver, in rose gold, in copper, and it comes in a bunch of jewel tones also. So again, then you have your finished shell. So again, these are great trinket dishes. Say you bought like a piece of jewelry for a gift and you want to, a piece of jewelry and you want to have something else, right? Like I love the kind of like, I bought something, but I also made a little something piece and it's just so thoughtful. So what if you did these and then, you know, here's my ring and it's just like a cute little trinket dish. Like that's a great gift. So it's a cute way to present it. It's a cute thing. Like, oh, I buy you earrings and this little dish to sit on your, you know, your sink or whatever. And you're sealing it with Mod Podge. So it's going to protect your project. If I was giving this like a dish like this, you could even use that's going to be sitting like on your bathroom sink or on your kitchen sink. You could use dishwasher safe Mod Podge to seal it because then it's going to be protected from the water. So Mod Podge dishwasher safe is a great option also to do this. And it has a gloss finish. Okay. So Stephen, are there any more questions on this? Because I'm going to talk resin.
We did actually have a question about those little nice spoons that you're using. Do you know where you may have picked those up from?
You can pick these up from, I got these online. I know Michael's has some like cute little decorative plastic spoons and whatnot, like sometimes like in their like front dollar-ish area and in their like baking section. I got these online. So they just came in a little pack.
Sweet.
Again, a great little addition. Yeah. Okay. So resin. So again, the reason we're using resin for this is so that it becomes food safe. And again, I gave it as a gift for a salt and pepper. I don't want to say shaker, but a holder. So again, you know, I presented it like this. It was a set of 2. They had the resin in them and I gave her the spoons and then it was for, you know, your table or board or whatever. So resin is food safe. Mod Podge is not food safe. So that is the difference. So seal it with Mod Podge, get it to this point, right? What we just did, and then you want to add your resin if it's going to be intended for food. If it is just for decorative purposes or an ornament or a trinket dish, you don't need to worry about the resin. Okay, so Mod Podge resin. If you go to plaidonline.com, after you purchase your resin from Michael's, we've got this great, this thing has been around the studio for a while now, it's sprinkled. We've got this great printable that talks all about safety and supplies and the process. So it's a great little cheat sheet and tips and tricks if you've never done resin. We also have a bunch of videos that are available for you to watch. So Resin is really great. You know, you want to craft smart. You know, there are different precautions that we take using resin than we do like regular Mod Podge. So you want to have the proper PPE, which is personal protection equipment. So I'm gonna put an apron on, which, I mean, you know, craft with an apron anyway. I typically tend to not ruin a lot of clothes. So I'm gonna stick my apron on. I've also got my respirator. So that is very important to work in a well-ventilated area anytime you're working with resin. So I've got my respirator here. And again, all this information, once you purchase your Mod Podge resin, all this information is right here on the box, and it'll take you and show you exactly what you need to get. This is with all resin. You want to read the directions and just be safe about it. It's a really fun craft to do, a DIY. It's super hot and trendy. It is not hard. You just want to follow the directions like you would with any other product. Typically our other products are, we just craft barehanded and we're like, you're good. This one, we just follow the directions, and it's really fun to do. Okay, so we've got our 2-part Mod Podge resin system. I've got my respirator. I have got some nitrile gloves. I've got measuring cups and stirrers. You're gonna need a little timer. And I've got a butane torch to get any bubbles out. That's really the main things you need. Again, we've got that all here, and you know, go to Michaels, michaels.com. It'll take you, you know, once you purchase this, it has exactly where to go online to see more safety information. And safety sounds scary, but it's just being smart about crafting. Okay, so I am going to mask up, so it is going to be harder to hear me. So Stephen, you may need to chime in if anybody has questions. So a couple things to know when I'm doing this. I want to let you know that once you mix your Mod Podge resin, so it's a 2-part system, so it comes together in one box, really easy at Michaels. 2-part resin system. You need equal parts, so equal 1, equal 2, and you want to mix them. This is where you do want to follow the directions. You want to mix them. I'm going to tell you exactly right here. So you want to mix for 3 minutes. So very slowly mix for 3 minutes. Then you want to let your mixture set for 2 minutes. Then you can add, if you're adding glitter or inks or paints into your resin. For this, we are not, but if you did want to, that's when you would do this. Then you have about 40 minutes once you mix your resin to work with it. After that, it's bad and you need to start with a new batch. So we mix for 3, let sit for 2. So we actually have covered over here some resin. So I will grab that when it's time so you guys don't have to literally watch me mix resin for 3 minutes. But again, that's it. And then, you know, like I said, you can mix paint and glitter and additives. If you didn't want to do Mod Podge and napkins and you wanted to paint something on here, or if you wanted to add glitter to your resin or alcohol inks and then just pour resin on here, you could absolutely do that. Okay, I just like napkins because I feel like it looks really finished and themey and fun. Look, that's a little octopus on there. I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna mask up. If you have questions, Stephen, let me know. I will answer them the best I can. Again, just being safe crafting. It's not scary, I promise. I know it looks scary. All right, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, this is where you would mix for 3 minutes and then let it sit for 2 minutes. Okay, so we had this covered so it wasn't smelly. Okay, so now you have your resin. I'm gonna take a shell. And then I'm actually going to do a thin coat. So you don't want to just pour this and have it puddle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to use a craft stick. And I'm going to apply a really thin layer. So I'm just using a craft stick. And I'm applying a thin layer. That's all you need. It's going to be food safe once it cures. So you want to get all the way to the edges, cover the paint and the napkin, a really thin coat. Don't just go pouring it in there because it's going to puddle. You can even scrape some off. You want to just make sure you cover your entire thing. You don't need to do the back, just the front. And you just want to make sure as it kind of starts to set up that it doesn't puddle in the middle. So that's all you do. You can already see that shine. So I would let this sit for, a couple of minutes. I would come back and check it and make sure that it's not puddling. If it is, you can kind of just work the resin before it starts to set. That's a really thin coat. And then if you have any air bubbles, I got really lucky and I don't have any. You can always use a butane torch and hit it to remove the bubbles.
Kira, I have a question for you. So would it not be better to use a brush or a foam brush rather than a little crafting stick? What are your thoughts on that?
You absolutely could. You just don't want, one, it's gonna ruin your brushes. Okay, once you use that brush, you're gonna have to toss it. Does that make sense? Can you hear me? Okay, and I just don't want you to get too much. So you can, but if you're like painting and dabbing it on,
there's a risk that you'll get too much and it'll take longer to dry.
Right. Well, and it's gonna puddle. So you can absolutely use a brush. It's just gonna ruin your brush, which that's fine. Some people, that's fine because it's gonna get hard and you can't wash it. I like using a stick, but you absolutely could use a brush. I just don't dab it on there like you're painting. I think when people use a brush, they have a tendency to be heavy-handed. So just an option though. So again, that's the one I did. So that's start to finish, you guys. I'll do one more. And again, if you wanted to add some glitter or sparkle, you could take some loose glitter and sprinkle it right on top now. It's a great time to do that. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. I know I have resin open, so definitely I'm gonna move it out of the way and get it out of here. So anytime you're working with resin, work in a well-ventilated area, you want to keep your mask on the whole time you've got uncured resin. That's really important. We've got great ventilation in here and we're going to get this out of here as soon as the class is over. But you guys, it's so fun, so easy. Thank you for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions. Again, check out Mod Podge resin at Michael's, Mod Podge. We've got Treasure Gold. These are great last minute gifts you can make. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Happy holidays.